What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another movie review. I'm Chase Lee, and the movie I want to take a look at right now is the Angry Birds Movie 2. Now, this one comes from Sony and is directed by Throp Van Orman. And this one tells the continuation of the first one, where the pigs and the birds they're civil now, but they still kind of play little pranks on each other and stuff. And so there's a newer threat at foot, another island across the sea that's firing a bunch of ice balls at them, and they go, "Hey, pigs, we should team up," And so they team up and they go after the third island and stopping this mad bird, this mad eagle from dropping more ice balls on them. So you're probably wondering, why this movie? Why did I pick this movie to review? Well, one, I like to try to review everything. And two, the wonderful people at Sony and, of course, Fonz PR that are here in Dallas, they invite me to these movies. I'm going to give them my attention and, help them out. And that's what I like to do. Regardless of what movie it is, I try to hit up everything. Big movie, small movie, movies like this, I try and do it. So I didn't see I didn't see the trailer to this movie. I usually start out these reviews with the trailer and what I thought about the trailer. I pretty much jumped in blind. But if you're just curious, I did see the first one. Here's my history with it. I was on a plane. And I typically don't like watching movies on a plane. And this was like the breeziest little movie I could watch to pass my hour and a half time. So I could just reach my destination, get off the plane. Because I'm 6'4", guys. I don't like riding planes. And so I remember watching the first one. I fell asleep halfway into the movie. And I woke up and I was like, okay, well, I got to finish this movie because I have OCD. I have to finish these things. So I was like, oh, man, we got like 22 minutes left before we land. I had like 35 minutes left in the movie. And I remember watching it. I had to like fast forward through certain stuff if I got the gist of the scene just so I can reach the end. So the screens didn't shut off on me as the plane landed. So that was my experience with the first one. So definitely like a very stressful situation. But I didn't really care for the first one. I thought it was boring. I was like, I don't even think kids are going to like this. So going into the sequel, I was a little cautious. I got to tell you, it's not as bad as I thought it was. Or as bad as I thought it was going to be. It's fine. It's a fine movie, but I will give it the swing up in my grade just because it is a little better than I expected. So, the story itself is very basic. It's not anything that like takes any risk or any chances. Doesn't do anything new that the first movie didn't do. It's just another foe that they have to go take down because they're trying to destroy the island. It's pretty much the same thing as number one. You have the main storyline of the birds teaming up with the pigs going to the third island, and you have this kind of like second little side story that these little birds are trying to go get back some eggs. And so that's the two main ones that you're kind of focusing on that kind of like come together at the very end, but the story itself is not anything that's like, oh wow, this is blowing my mind. But I will say, me thinking the first one was boring and not entertaining enough, this cranks it up to an 11. I was actually kind of impressed that the sequel, while I thought it to just be okay, and the story was just kind of like whatever, it was entertaining. It was faster paced, and the humor was flying at 1,000 miles per hour. Now, that can be annoying for some movies. You can sit there and watch a movie and have all these jokes fly at you and be like, okay, I'm exhausted, I'm bored, like, you're just doing this to try to get a rise out of me out of every third joke, and you're trying too hard. You're making an effort, but you're trying too hard. And it's very off-putting. I gotta tell you, the jokes in this one were flying at 1,000 miles per hour, and there were so many crammed into, like, each scene. but I find myself either giggling or laughing harder than I should have. Like, there were a couple times where I was thinking to myself in my brain, like, I should not be laughing at this. It is juvenile humor. But they did it in such a way that it worked. And the humor works in this movie, not all the time. There's a couple times where it was a little misfire, or at the very beginning, I felt it to be a little rockier than the rest of the movie. I was like, oh no, is this what the whole movie's going to be like? But it did pick up and get better. So I'd say like 95% of the movie, it actually worked for me. But the humor works because of the voice talent. You have Jason Sudeikis, Danny McBride, Bill Hader, Maya Rudolph, Awkwafina's in this, Leslie Jones. I mean, they cram a bunch of creative talent into this movie. The talent is unmatched. You know, even when I watched the first one, I didn't really care for it, but I was like, wow, they managed to get a lot of, funny people in this movie. And, I gotta tell you, like, the jokes would have not worked if these voice actors or these voice performances were not committed by their actors. Sudeikis, McBride, Jones, like, they all have this kind of improv quality to them in real life. So when you apply that to this movie and have some of these kind of like improvish scenes, it actually works. So the commitment to have their voices come out of their characters works for the humor. The animation is wackier than the first one. A lot of, cartoonish movements and stuff, which amplify the joke. And then just the way it's written. Like I said, I will fully admit some of the jokes are juvenile. But I laughed. And it was because it was more animated. It was more energetic than the first one. There was an upbeat attitude throughout the entire thing that I found way more attractive than the first one. So, yeah. I mean, there's really nothing more to say. I think if you are a parent that has to take their kid to this, just be warned that I don't think you're going to have a bad time. You might have a great time. You might just have an okay time. But that's better than having a bad time. And so I think kids will like it. I think adults will find it bearable. And maybe if you're like me, you'll find some fun in it. There were a couple of adults in my audience that were laughing their heads off. I was like, God bless you, man. That is fantastic. I just, I like when people can have a good time while watching something. And so, hey, is this movie for me? Not really. Is it a great movie? No. Is it a bad movie? Far from it. I think it's fine. I think it's suitable entertainment for kids. It's a very brisk, hour and 20 minutes. It's a very fast movie. Like I said, be way more energetic than the first one, which is a huge plus because I found that movie to be boring. And so, yeah, it's not a bad little time. And some of the jokes even got me in stitches. Never thought I'd say that about the sequel to the Angry Birds movie, but it wasn't bad. So I'm going to give it a C+, and I'm going to give it that plus tick because of the humor and the ability to make it useful and make it entertaining in that regard. So there you go. Not really much more to say. This is a movie that's definitely not for my age demographic, but I do think as someone that doesn't have kids right now, and viewing this as someone that's almost 30 years old, and maybe viewing it as a kid that would see this, I think it's not it. You could spend worse ways on your afternoons or your nights or whatever. So it's not a bad little movie. Yeah, C+ for me for the Angry Birds movie too. And I will say that they had a short film before the movie. This might be the first time Sony has ever dabbled into that, because I always thought it was just like a Pixar thing. Sometimes DreamWorks would have like a short film, but they're getting into the short film game before their movies, and I don't oppose the idea. If you want to do more, go ahead. But I thought the short film that played before it was very beautiful, and just a nice little short. And it was all powered through music. There was no dialogue except for something that was being played on a video. Other than that, I was kind of shocked. So yeah, not a bad time at the movies. So so if you got kids, take them to it. You might find some entertainment into it, and they might have fun. So, take that for what you will. So that will do it for this review, guys. I am Chase Lee, and tune in next time for whatever I review next. Let me know down below what you thought of the first one, if you see the sequel, all that stuff down below. I will see you guys next time.